Hola, ¿cómo estás? Soy Juan Pablo y te quiero regalar este ejercicio para relajar tus hombros. Y el ejercicio es de la siguiente manera. Junta las yemas de tus dedos, todas las yemas de tus dedos, y coloca tus manos en tus hombros. Desde ahí, lleva tus codos hacia adelante. Inhala profundo y con la exhalación abre tus codos hacia afuera. Luego vuelve hacia el centro, codos hacia arriba. Luego baja tus codos hacia el suelo sin despegar los dedos de tus hombros. Vuelve hacia el centro. Inhala profundo y con la exhalación pega tus codos. Y luego separa. Suelta y relaja. De esta forma vas a ayudar a que tus hombros liberen tensiones y puedas disfrutar mucho más esta experiencia. Te mando un abrazo, que estés muy bien.
Good afternoon,
Good
everyone.
afternoon.
Hi, Caroline.
Hi, Ale. I was just enjoying so much Juan Pablo. I sent him a WhatsApp this morning saying, I just think it's fabulous. Every time I see him, yesterday when I was talking with Maria Claudia, before we started and the video came on, we were both sitting there doing the exercise. We just naturally went in it. And just 1 minute, it's extraordinary what a difference it makes.
Absolutely.
It's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
How's things up there in Portillo? I'm missing you being up there.
What are you doing? What are you doing there, Caroline?
Like
We
everyone,
miss
we're stuck in our places.
Mhm.
But, yeah. So it's going really well. I'm loving all of the conversations. Some of them I'm asleep for because I'm in Australia and we have a very different time zone. But it's just beautiful. So congratulations to everyone there, the whole team. It's going so beautifully.
Thank you, Caroline. And so I was so looking forward to our conversation this afternoon.
Yeah, me too. And I brought my tea because I know it's your favorite time of the day. Hour of tea. I'm having it for the morning, but yeah. So success is such a I think it's such a tricky topic. I think it's full of conditions and full of kind of old stories that mess or can be confusing on the journey. It can be very narrow. It can be sometimes just about career, sometimes just about money. When people talk about someone who's successful, you know, they often mean, well, they have a lot of position or they have a lot of money. But I think we want to broaden the topic a little bit today.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I was just having a conversation with Martin Campbell White, and I asked him, you know, the question, what is to be an successful musician, no? And at the end he said, you know, the most important thing is music, and then success comes by itself, no?
Yeah.
So if you put your energy in the music, of course he's an artist manager, so he does the rest, no? But it's very important to remind ourselves, you know, to go back to the essence of what we do, no?
Yeah. Though I want to read a WhatsApp that I got about maybe a month ago from one of the participants from last year. I won't name the person. And it's in a sense, it's the small steps. The person is doing their practice, finishing university that last year. But in the festival from last year, when we did all the coaching work, and you know what happens. Everyone comes for the music. They come for the, you know, the American String Quartet or Gabriel Betancourt or Pedro Salcedo or Beatriz Ovalle, you know, the teachers, they come to refine their art form and their technique and be part of that music. And then they have to deal with coaching and leadership. You know, it's like the last thing in the world that they really want to do, until many of them find that they then can be in control of their emotions, you know, and because they have to perform in our festival. And as Pedro said in one of the videos, in many festivals, they don't know if they get to perform or not. Mm-hmm. But in this festival, everyone performs, and they perform in smaller audiences of about maybe 100 to large audiences of up to 800. And so, you know, they have to deal with stage presence, they have to deal with nervousness, they have to deal with panic attacks even, you know, because that's becoming more and more present for people. So when they realize that they can take charge of many things to make their life not just their career successful, but they don't have to take as many, you know, they don't have to take alcohol, drugs, and medication in order to look after themselves. They can, like Juan Pablo teaches some really basic things that are so helpful. So many practices to actually be in charge of your own success track as well, in an easy way that isn't stressful, right? And we'll talk about that because you've done that. You know, I've known you now for nearly 10 years, and I've watched you apply these things and make success happen in a very interesting way. But this person from last year, young woman, wrote to me, and I'll translate from Spanish. She said, "Dear Carolyn, I hope this finds you well. I'm so-and-so from Chile, and we met in Portillo in the Festival of Music. And I'm writing to tell you that during the year, I've been practicing everything that we talked about at the festival, being grateful every day, controlling my thoughts so that they go in a positive way, so that they're positive, and visualizing my goals. And one of the goals that I put for this year was to have my own instrument, my own professional instrument, and to finish well at the university. Today, my instrument arrived in Chile, and I received it, or I achieved it, under circumstances that by all accounts were impossible, but I achieved it easily. So that's it. Thank you for sharing with us this way to see life." And I think, you know, when we understand that success isn't about luck, that it's a system, that it starts with us and the way we are, then I think it's amazing, because that kind of thing in a year of pandemic as well, impossible. So for me, this whole thing of success is, first of all, how you can be happy as well. It's not just about getting on the stage, it's about having a happy life.
Yeah.
So it was brave.
Before you mentioned the word about the word easy way, no? And I had to say that while working with you, no, because, well, people need to know that you are part of a team with Angelica that like a curatoria, no, of talents with Fanjulan World. You started with Angelica, and you made us do this work, no, with all the artists, and one thing that really I learned very quickly, or at least I got very attached to the idea, was the idea of easiness. No, that the work that we do, it has to be easy. It shouldn't feel like work. No. And I just love that, because life shouldn't feel like a struggle. No, being a musician shouldn't be a struggle. Of course, sometimes we practice and things don't work out for us, or a passage doesn't work, or I cannot play fast enough. No, but if you have the right mental attitude, it will happen at some point. No, but you just have to trust, trust the moment, and trust the process. No.
Yeah. I remember one point in time, Ali, when you were doing an experiment, you know, and you were going, I don't want, and you can explain more because I can't remember the details exactly, but you were in your practice and you just said, you know, I don't want to practice unless I really want to practice. I don't want to, and I know you have to go through different phases. You have to go through the phase where you just have to practice. But then as a mature artist, you can then say, I don't want to do this from obligation. I want to do it because I love it. And so I remember you were going through a period of experimenting with that. And I think it was around trying to explore more creativity rather than deber, rather than duty, you know? Can you explain a little bit about that? Because I think that was a big shift. I remember seeing that as a big shift.
But I think it's so different for everyone. No, this idea of our journey, because when I was young, when I was 12, 13, 14, I was such a good student. No,
Yeah.
I would practice 3-4 hours, no, every day. And if I didn't practice, I would feel bad about it. No, it's like, oh, I didn't practice, like a little bit of guilt about it. No, but then I had to say that when I went to study to the United States, that's something that it was so important to me, because I found myself in an environment that was so positive, no, a musical ecosystem, that I like to use the word, that it was so so positive, and all the teachers will help you to do your best, no. So that was the first time that I felt, oh, I love this, no, or the idea is I can do this, everything is possible.
Wow. So that's so interesting, isn't it? That the ecosystem is profoundly important. This vision that other people have on you, and people you give authority to, like teachers, who believe in you, that say, come on, you can do this. And it's a joyful and full of possibility. And I think that certainly I'm from Australia, and we're in the Southern Hemisphere, same as most of Latin America, yeah. And there's sometimes we have to struggle a little bit. We have to we have this sense that the Northern Hemisphere is better and will never quite be as good. And that geography can sometimes, you know, hold us. I know that many of, I came from the world of acting, and many of our great, you know, Australian actors have had to leave Australia and go to the Northern Hemisphere, primarily in North America, to find success. And there's a willingness in North America for people to shine. And in the Southern Hemisphere, sometimes we don't let each other shine. You know, there's a bit of, if someone else shines too much, that means I can't shine. And that's not true. Everyone can shine. There's enough place. And in fact, really what we want is that everyone shines in their own uniqueness. That would be success.
Exactly. I mean, that's the idea of the ecosystem, no? If you're happy, I'm happy. If I'm happy, you're happy, no?
Yeah.
This idea of collaboration, but also to be aware of each other, no?
Yeah. And also if you're not happy, because I mean, I want to say that it's not always, you know, a garden. There are some, you know, weeds in the garden. So sometimes, you know, there are times when your emotional world does take over, and try as you might, you've got some old pattern that takes you down, feeling down, you know, you didn't achieve or you made a mistake. And the idea is, on the way, you learn that we all make mistakes. And that's another thing, actually, in the United States. They have a culture of, it's good to make mistakes because you learn from that. You get better. But I know in my country and in South America, it's not good to make mistakes. We try to avoid them. And by that, we end up with a lot of kind of stop-start energy, and we don't take as big risks, and we avoid things, and we don't shine as much because we try not to fall over. And falling over is part of the journey, and how to learn to not be hard on ourselves for that. And that's been a big lesson for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Caroline, I have a question. You mentioned early in the conversation about having a method to be successful. Could you share that a little bit more profoundly?
But more profoundly, yes. Well, it's a little bit where we started to talk that, you know, there's a phrase called our assembly point, and it's like, you know, if in Chile, if there's an earthquake, everybody has to assemble in one particular point for then the crisis to be managed properly. So that's the assembly point. It's the central point around which everything else will flow properly. Now, we are the assembly point of our lives, but very often we're not centered in the assembly point. We've got our minds somewhere else. I'm thinking about what someone else is doing. I'm thinking about the circumstances, like this young person from last year who could have said, you know, I'm in Chile, I don't have resources, I'm still at university, and it's a pandemic and we haven't got the money. It's impossible for me to get a professional instrument, and I'm just 20-something. Impossible. My circumstances, my assemblage point then is my circumstances, not me. So what we know in the system of success is that I am the assembly point, or the assemblage point. If I'm in order, everything orders around me. But I have to be very connected with myself and with my vision, with the future. What is it I want to be creating? And this is, you can have a life that is by design, where you design it because you have a right, it's your life. Or it's a life by default, no defecto. And the reason we say it's design or it's default, if you're not designing your life, if you're not saying, what would I really love? Not what do I want, because what I want comes from usually what I don't have. And when you're thinking what I don't have, you're focused on what I don't have and the circumstances again. So then your assemblage point is again all of the things around you that limit you. So if you come from your heart and you say, what would I really love? You know, I'll give an example. So Ali, if you, as a violinist and now conductor, for many years now a conductor, if you had said, yeah, but I'm a woman, you know, back in those days, I'm a woman, and I'm a woman in Latin America where there aren't any, there's like 2, 3 female conductors, 1 at the time. And anyway, no one knows me. And anyway, I'm not very good at, you know, promoting myself, and I don't know how, and I'm at the end of the work. Forget it. It's the end. Over. Just give up. Stay in bed. right? So immediately we see that that attitude creates the story, creates the way you interact with others, the opportunities that you either create or see. You know, you may have a brilliant opportunity right by your side, but if you have that belief ecosystem, you don't even see that opportunity because your assemblage point is outside of you in all the story of limitations. Then again, what you could say is my conditioning says, okay, to be successful, I have to be conducting at the Berlin Philharmonic. And that's it. That's your focus. Means you can do that. But you wouldn't be doing the festival. You wouldn't be doing the fabulous Gran Concierto por la Hermandad. And this come from you listening to your heart going, you know what I'd really love? I would love to create these amazing opportunities. I want music to go to all people. I want them to understand, be able to go in. I want young people to have the chance. I would love that. So then you create, your world is then created from your inner clarity of what you would love. Now, that's your assemblage point. I know you want to ask a question or say something. I just finish because if you're not listening to that inner impulse, which is always there, the creative fuel of your own life, your life, that you have 100% derecho, right, to create the way you want to. If you're not listening to that, you will be moved by the conditions and the conditioning of your past, by what everybody says you should be, the fact that artists, you know, are always poor, they struggle, your geography matters, your teacher matters, etc. So that will just define you at an unconscious level, and your assemblage point will be always the past, no matter how much you try and change. So it's by design or default. And then within that, the systems of how to look after your assemblage point so that it is radiating in a way that's going to have you connected into the circumstances that are coming to you that are in resonance with what you really love and what you're designing. So that's the end of the discourse.
I mean, I couldn't agree more with you, Caroline.
Great.
No,
so,
but my question was, how do you know when you are creating your life by design or by default? Exactly. That's what I was hoping to hear. No,
yeah.
we feel happy. I mean, if we feel fear or any of those feelings that make us uncomfortable, that would probably, it will be a sign that this is probably a pattern that I had to observe, right?
Yeah, and I guess I'm talking about a happiness that is it's not like happy, it's like a
no
of contentment, of fulfillment, of, you know, there's a movement of energy, there's a vitality, and it comes from how you think and feel rather than just what you're doing or the circumstances stimulating you. So, and it would be creative as well. It doesn't mean all new ideas, but there would be a flow of creativity. I'll give you an example. I'm not very good at doing detailed planning, right? I'm not very good at all. I'm really good at other things, but thinking into detail and making a plan that goes for like 3 months, that's stressful for me. And I had to go to a session yesterday. I didn't have to. They changed my language, right? I had to. If I say I had to go to a session, it makes me feel like I'm a victim. I'm enslaved. Well, I didn't. I chose. Someone was going to help me with some planning. And like you say, these old patterns, I just went completely blank. She asked me, so what would happen over the next 10 weeks? I can turn up every week and I can deliver something. but I couldn't think anything, but not one thought. And it was my nervous system went into complete panic, which is crazy, right? But that's what happens to us. And so what you need to do in that time, it's not that I wasn't unhappy, but I was hijacked by an old story that made me full of fear of something that is simple, right? But this can happen to us. So, and you know, you're doing terrific, and then all of a sudden, there's one thing that triggers you, and you don't even necessarily know it's going to trigger you. So you have to be able to observe your nervous system, your own ecosystem, and intervene. You have to, or the number one key in being able to design your own life is that you're observing this assemblage point. How are my thoughts? Are my thoughts limiting me? My inner dialogue? Am I saying, oh God, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this. It's too much, I can't. And we talk like this all the time, but do we know that we're doing it? And do we think that we can intervene? Do we think that we're in charge? You know, our mind is just like a crazy runaway horse, or many horses sometimes, but it belongs to us. The mind belongs to us. It's not who we are. So then we can, like this person said in the WhatsApp, you can start to direct your thoughts, choose better thoughts, think better thoughts, have better dialogue with yourself. Go, no, it's okay, take it easy, breathe. And so, you know, how do we know? We also know because things start to flow. People come into our system offering opportunities. You know, it's more easy, and synchronicities happen, and we don't worry. And I think that's the thing I learned more than anything, and I think you and Angelica too, we worked together last year on Zoom a lot, that even with the pandemic, that shouldn't determine who we are, how we are, and what we do. That's just, it's an intense circumstance, but it's not the thing that will. So how can we work it out? The best thing you can do is work out how to stay well, how to, el bienestar, no? Well-being. If you feel really good in you, then everything flows from there. Ideas come, synchronicities. So that's the main work, is look after how you feel. Stay as well as you can on every level.
Caroline, thank you. What you're saying is so important, no, and especially for musicians, no. And I hope all the students are listening here, because the instrumentalists, we all go through this process, no, like even while practicing, no, what might happen that get frustrated with something that is not working, and start telling to himself or to herself, oh, I cannot play this, or oh, this is never going to work out for me, you know, all these things. And thank you for sharing this, because it's tremendously important. Also because during your practice time is when you learn these things, you know, you nurture your mental attitude. No, something that I do love, Carol, is working with young musicians, and I love to talk about these things, and I love when they share how they feel about things, no. And a lot of time I hear that, for example, about getting nervous, no, that they say that, oh, I feel very comfortable maybe when I'm playing with my friends or when I'm on the streets playing, but when I had to play in front of people, I get so nervous, no. And it's so important to make sure that we work on that part, you know, the mental preparation, what it means to get to Carnegie Hall, no?
Yeah.
But you go step by step, no? It's not,
Yeah.
and that is very inspiring too, because you realize that if you have someone who can teach you these things and someone who can guide you in this, you realize that, oh, I can do this on my own, no?
Yeah. Yeah. And look, so much in what you just said. I think that there, you know, this discipline of the mind, and the great thing about being a musician, I'm not. The great thing about being a musician, you are all so disciplined. You know, even if the personality, you know, I've seen some of the students there in Portillo, and you go, that doesn't look like a disciplined personality. But as soon as they get with their instrument, it's like, you know, that you can't live as a musician if you don't have discipline. So you have that already developed. So that's like a major plus. And then to apply it to the mind, because I think that's crucial. So when you're, you know, you're hitting those phrases and you're not getting through it, and the natural inclination to just let the frustration take over, and I can't do this, and, you know, is have already some phrases that you've well practiced in the non-frustrating times. That I love one that just says, life is always working out for me. Life is always working out for me. Life is always working out for me. And you can say it in many different ways. And it's like a big interrupt into the pattern of frustration, because frustration is an energy of force. And where you want to get out of is that force. You want to rise up into an energy of power, where everything flows through, where you can, el poder, no se puede. You want to go into that energy, not into making it happen, because it's full of resistance.
And also, I would like to add to the idea of discipline the mind, the discipline of the mind. I would like to go like beyond that in terms of discipline, disciple, no?
Yeah.
To learn. And I'm saying this because this is something that we also need to remind ourselves all the time, no? That we have to learn. We have to be in the mental, again, spirit, to always be learning, not to be disciple. And because I feel that when frustration comes, is when you do something, it doesn't work. You do it again the same way, it doesn't work. You do it again, and it doesn't work. So, but we have to be creative in the process of learning, no? So when you are always in the set mindset of learning, you can be so creative. No?
Yeah, absolutely. That's just beautiful, Ali. And this idea of being a disciple, perfect. And I think, you know, there's one thing, there's a, you know, going back to the discipline of the mind, and how so often when we're stuck, and like you say, we just keep doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result, but we do it in the same way.
Yeah.
And so we get the same result, and even worse, because we start in a more frustrated space and a more frustrated. So in the end, we're building this trajectory, you know, from here forward that is unsuccessful, because the assemblage point is completely wrong. So if there's that kind of force and resistance energy, or fear, or any of those energies within that aren't flow, that aren't ease, it's like, stop, breathe, because my nervous system, and I didn't do this yesterday. I'm a great teacher, but I didn't do it yesterday. I went in the blank, and then you have to change the dynamic, and you have to get your nervous system back into the kind of relaxed, attentive, creative space. So that means you have to breathe deeply, relax your body, and speak to yourself a phrase that's going to make you feel it's all okay. Everything's okay. Just breathe. It's going to be fine. It's always working out for me, or whatever. And it takes 2 minutes. But sometimes we're like a train. We just keep going down the wrong track, and we're going to, run into a wall. And so it's better to intervene and do the practice. And then you bring yourself back to the assemblage point, which is your pure creativity and the flow. And that's what you look for. Yeah. And there was one more thing you said, Ali, about, step by step, you get there. It's not that you go from university to Carnegie Hall in one big jump, And if I look at, it amazes me how each year at the Concierto por la Hermandad, the big brotherhood concert or siblinghood concert, it just astonishes me that you can stand there in an old train station, have 6,000 people in the audience, some people who've never been to classical music orchestral concert before, and then you've got 200 or 300 choristas, and you've got 130 musicians on the stage, and you're not nervous. I mean, that is for me extraordinary. But it's what you say. It's step by step. You were spending a lot of time getting ready to be ready for that. It means you're doing a lot of other things and looking after your assemblage point. And one more thing I think is really important is that idea that it's not about you. When you're on stage, it's not about you. You're there to be of service so that the people who have come have some experience that reminds them of something so sublime and beautiful in themselves and in life. And when you put the focus outside of you in service of something, the fear it just doesn't kind of grab a hold, does it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was going to say that, and then you said it.
Sorry.
No, it's because I really feel it's not about myself. I'm just a part of something bigger than myself. And it's so beautiful when you feel that, because the energy is just, I like to use the word pure. It's so pure, no?
Yeah.
And when the energy is pure, you go into the extraordinary, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, Caroline, today I was watching one of the master classes for our students, and one of my great friends, and actually from my times in Concepcion, where I'm from, gave a master class. Jan Müller. We know each other since we were 12 years old, and I was in the class, and one student played, and he said something very interesting. No, he asked the student, what do you think is the difference? What do you feel that is different when you are practicing and where you are in front of people playing? No, and just asking that question makes you think about it, no?
Yeah.
Or at least be aware about it. And something that he said, which I think is very important, is that the process of observing yourself while you practice, but also observe yourself while you play in front of people, because in that process you learn so much about yourself, no?
Yeah.
And then you can use that in the moment that you perform, no? It was very, very, very interesting for me to hear that, no? That it could sound so simple, but we need to do it, no?
And I think, Ali, that circles us right back to the beginning of the most important key aspect for the assemblage point to be pure, if you like. So it comes back to the essence of who you are, the heart of what would I really love. And if you get to that, that is going to be of service. It's not like, well, what do I want? It's like, what would I really love? What do I feel I would love to be doing, to be giving, to be having, to be, knowing. And when you ask that, you come to the heart of who you are. And that then observing yourself, that you come back to this, you're coming from this point, it's always going to be of service. But the observation is fundamental. If you're not able to observe yourself, your thoughts, your energy, as in your feelings, emotions, and observe and not become. So sometimes, when things hit us, when we do make errors or we are frustrated or not just that, we're whole people. We break up with our partner, or, life is difficult, or our family, someone's sick, or we lose someone. Those things impact us. We're human beings that we're a spectrum of energy. That's who we are. We move up and down. And ideally, our observation allows us to not plummet when circumstances happen. Of course, we feel things, but not to become that energy of, despair or hopelessness, or just go, there's that energy again. Okay, move it. You have to move energy. You have to go and do something completely different. Not avoid it, but just move the energy and start to think, okay, this is here, but I'm so much more than this. I'm so much more. I am this full.
And also something comes to my mind, Caroline, about the idea of living in the present. No? I think we can relate that to this too. No, personally, it happens to me that when I'm very present in a moment, first, I realize that I'm not working from my mind. Like my whole body is there, present. And I have a sense of this completeness, is that a word? That and I think that's is extraordinary also. Like when I think that's the goal of the musician at the end of the day, to feel that you're really complete in the moment. So you're not living in the past, not living in the future. You're there, present. No?
Yeah.
How do we achieve that, Caroline?
Practice. It's 100% practice, isn't it? To first of all is to know that the mind is, everything is first created in the mind. So whatever we're thinking, and the statistics are we have like 60,000 thoughts a day, and they're all competing to be manifested, and they're all many, the 95% of them, we have the same ones every day, and the majority of those 60,000, so 59,500 thoughts are just programmed thoughts from television, radio, family, teachers, authorities, belief systems in the culture, and they get triggered by things outside, and we're not even aware of them, but they're programming us. They're happening all the time. So our thoughts, we don't have to get too overwhelmed with that. That's one of the reasons that both you and I know that some kind of practice of meditation, and meditation, is just a way of saying coming to rest back in the purity of your own assemblage point, back in the purity of this tower that you are, that is sort of like a radar tower, and if you're able to quiet your mind and kind of put better thoughts. So sometimes if I get stuck in something, I run up against it and I'm just pushing like a bull, and I'm not getting anywhere. and I feel this is it, there's no way through, I ask myself a question. And the question is, if I could understand this in a way that was going to be helpful to me, how could I understand it? And as soon as I ask that question, if I could understand this in a way that could be helpful to me, how could I understand it? As soon as I ask that question, the wall dissolves, because my intellect wants to find solutions. That's what it's for. And then my mind will follow the questions or the statements that I declare. My mind is a faculty in service of my intellect that's searching for a way through or searching for understanding. But I have to ask better questions of my own intellect, and then my mind will follow that. If not, I'll just be going, it's a wall, I'm stuck, I can't do this, and my mind will follow that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and what really fascinates me is that we realize, or one realized, that mind works in time. I mean, for me, for example, if a student tells me, yeah, I was playing and then I was so nervous and I forgot and I got stuck and my mind couldn't go along, like the mind was stuck in the past, no?
Yeah.
The body was still moving forward, no?
Yeah. Yeah.
But the mind was, or even when, you know, even like I could be talking to you here right now and I could be thinking about something that happened before. I mean, the mind works in time.
Yeah.
So when what we have to learn is to live in the present. So exactly, so that this doesn't happen, no? Like you're very, very present and be alive. It's so beautiful.
It's really beautiful and it works. And the challenge is our whole society is geared towards planning and achieving, that we have to become something better than we already are. And that in itself, you see why the world is so full of anxiety, depression, because everybody feels not enough. And that is a fundamental flaw in our humanity. Because if we start from the basis that, you know, we're all born perfect. In fact, the statistics show 98% of humanity, we're born genius. And then by the time that we're 5, that comes down to from 98% down to 80%. When we're 12, it's down to 20% of people are still genius. And by the time we're 20, it's only 2% are now genius. And there are a number of factors, but the one overriding factor is the inner voice of self-criticism, saying you're stupid, that was ridiculous, how could you, you're dumb. And so we're conditioned to not feel the brilliance that we all are born as. So it's all conditioned out of us. So as adults, we can go, oh, well, it was my parents, it was society. But if you can think now, so any student in this festival and many younger people as well, as adults, we're now responsible. Okay, it's my mind. Now I don't have to believe this. Beliefs are just thoughts that we've thought over and over and over at an unconscious level, more often than not. So now it's our responsibility to start planting seeds that will flourish into the kind of garden mind that we'd like to have, that will show success. It cannot help but show success. Success on all levels. So being present means looking after the garden of my mind, you know, not allowing those old programmed thoughts. Some of us come from backgrounds that are quite harsh, with people who were quite harsh with us, and we've embodied in our minds. These people have taken up residence in our minds and speak to us in ways that are just terrible. And we still we let them. So we need to evict them, no matter how much we've loved them, and say thank you for everything, but no longer thank you for that. You're gone. This is my mind and I'm getting to create it. And so, yes, it is about being in the present, but also saying, what would I love to create? Because we are moving forward. We're not moving backwards. And we need an orientation for where we're leaning towards. But it's what would I love for my life? And it doesn't have to be playing in Carnegie Hall. There's a young student in Medellin. Her whole dream is to be able to bring music to, parts of Colombia where, it can make a difference in the poorer communities. It's her dream. She loves to play, of course, but dreams aren't always about self-aggrandizement. Anyway, we're out of time soon, Alan.
Caroline, it's so great to talk to you, Caroline, again. I miss you very much. You should be here with us.
No, I know.
But we know that these times are time to, I guess, to reflect, to be alone. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Always.
You're welcome. Thank you for this beautiful, inspiring, wonderful conversation.
And hopefully practical. Because I think
this is the idea, no, that the students and myself, the teachers too, we practice this.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. Well, Caroline, I want to thank you for being with us in Portillo today. And before we finish, I want to invite all of our audience, students and teachers, to join us for the concert for this evening. We will have students from our archives from previous concerts. Yeah. So please stay in tune, because in a few minutes we will have the concert for the evening. So thank you, everyone, for being with us, and thank you, Caroline.
Thank you, Ali. And I'd encourage everyone to watch the concert, because I've been at all of them, and just continually blew me away where the students began and then where they got to. And that's the commitment of this festival, is to create the ecosystem of excellence so that they have the opportunity to go beyond their previous best, to experience what that feels like in an ecosystem that's supportive. So I encourage you to watch it, because watch it, feel it, live it. It's very inspiring to see them.
Thank you, Caroline.
Sally.
So bye, Caroline. See you at the concert.
Yeah, and I'll be up at 2 a.m. tomorrow morning to be in the conversation with Morten Solvik. He's so wonderful as well in the spotlight, the Mala Spotlight Hour. Yeah,
yes.
Great.
Bye, Caroline.
Bye, Ali.